Hi, I'm Steve. You can call me Steve. I like eating, mostly because it stops me from dying. It's how I get the carbohydrates, fats, proteins, and vitamins and minerals I need to stay healthy, or at least within shouting distance of healthy. A proper diet should contain a balanced amount of all of these things. And if you ask my mother, mine isn't remotely balanced. Every now and again, a fad diet will grab the public's attention. These diets are usually built around one gimmick, like cutting out carbs or eating large amounts of one particular food. Fat and sugar are frequent targets of these weight loss regimes. This is, of course, nonsense. If you're consuming excess amounts of these things, then cutting back to bring your diet back into balance makes sense. Eliminating them completely does not. You're overcompensating and causing a whole new suite of problems. Everything in moderation. Before I go much further, I should explain the roles of the three basic components of the food you eat: sugars, fats, and proteins. Sugars are fuel. They're small molecules that store energy in chemical bonds. Your cells burn those molecules with oxygen to release that energy, and that drives all of the chemical reactions in your body that constitute life. In the same way, a car's engine burns fuel molecules with oxygen to release energy to make the car move. The only real difference is that your body does it with squishy bits instead of hard chunks of metal. But I digress. Those small sugar molecules can also be strung together in long chains to make starches. That's what's found in grains and cereals and some root vegetables. They still provide energy. It just takes a little more effort on your part to digest them. You can also make dietary fiber out of sugars, and that's something you can't digest. The chemical term is cellulose, and it's used by plants to make all sorts of hard structures, from the coating of bran that covers wheat grains to the woody trunks of trees. The fact that you can't digest it is what makes you regular. Your digestive system sees chunks of what's essentially lumber, realizes it can't do anything with it, and just moves it along. Which means everything else gets moved along with it, and you don't get backed up. I said science wasn't scary. I never said it wasn't icky. Sugars, starches, and cellulose are collectively called carbohydrates, or carbs. And they're the things the Atkins diet says you shouldn't eat. The Atkins diet was devised by a doctor, but he didn't specialize in nutrition, and he didn't do any of his own lab research into the diet. He just figured that his own personal experience applied to everybody else. Cutting out carbs entirely is not backed by science. That said, eating too many carbs can be just as bad, especially if you're eating the wrong kind of sugar. But that's an entire video of its own. Watch this space. The key point here is everything in moderation. Fats are, well, fat. They're higher density fuel. They get burned when you're seriously exerting yourself. Your body is working so hard that it needs something with an extra kick to meet the energy demands. When fitness people talk about a fat-burning zone, that's what they mean. You've shifted your cell's fuel source from sugars to fats. Fats aren't just fuel, though. Your cells consist of little sacs enclosed by layers of fatty acids. The fat defines the boundaries of the cell and protects all of the stuff on the inside from the stuff on the outside. Your fat deposits serve a purpose as well. They cushion and protect your organs. They keep you insulated in the cold, and they generate a lot of important hormones. Taking yourself down to 0% body fat would be a very bad idea. Again, everything in moderation. There's a happy medium between too little and too much. And there are also distinctions between the various types of fats: saturated, unsaturated, polyunsaturated, cis fats, trans fats. And explaining all that also requires a completely separate video. Watch this space. Protein is mostly used to build things. It makes up your muscles and cartilage and everything that holds your bits to your other bits. It's also in the enzymes that make all of the biochemical reactions happen that keep you going, including burning the fuel I mentioned earlier. Unless you're trying to increase muscle mass, you don't need to consume as much protein as you do carbs or fats. but you do need some to replace normal wear and tear on your tissues and also to replace enzymes that have reached the end of their useful working life. Just don't overdo it. Everything in moderation. The last thing I want to address is salt. Too much salt is bad, and a lot of people these days have too much salt because it's in just about everything we eat. Nothing in that statement should be controversial. Too little salt is a bad thing as well. Sodium ions are vital for nerve conductions. When I wave my arms around while I'm talking, my brain sends a signal down my nerves to make the muscles in my arms contract so I can flail distractingly. The way that signal moves down the nerve is by sodium ions moving in and out of the nerve fiber as the signal passes by. Without salt, that signal couldn't happen, and neither could the signals that tell my diaphragm to keep breathing. Salt is vital to live, but everything in moderation. That's fat, sugar, and salt. They're not villainous poisons to be avoided at all costs, but they're also not completely harmless and shouldn't be overindulged. Everything in moderation. If you're confused or uncertain, take the advice of nutritionists and don't get sucked into a fad diet. Don't be confused by somebody on TV calling themselves doctor either. Having an MD after their name will sometimes lend credibility, but medical doctors will specialize in one particular field of medicine, and it's not always nutrition. If they're a cardiologist, they probably shouldn't be talking about what you should eat. Some doctors in particular have sullied their good name and credibility by embracing every fake miracle cure that comes their way, usually in exchange for a large truckload of money. If somebody claims something is too good to be true, it probably is. Likewise, if they're trying to sell you something, they may not be completely trustworthy. Thanks for watching. I've been Steve.